just know your kids don't use drugs or alcohol. Guess what? Think again. Half of all Maryland teens, they've tried alcohol, and the average age when teens have their first drink is 13 years old. That's why it's vital that you know the truth about drugs and alcohol, and you share that with them. This story really scares me, Dr. Kimberly Gordon. She's a psychiatrist with the Shepherd Pratt Health System. 13?
Yes.
That is so young.
Very young, right?
So we have this week here. It's dedicated to National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week. Tell me what's it all about?
So National Alcohol and Drug Abuse Week is really an opportunity for parents to discuss with their kids the negative consequences for drug and alcohol use.
So what are some of the common myths that teens may have about drugs and alcohol?
Too many to count, but some of the common myths that teenagers have is that if you drink underage and you don't drive, it's not a problem. Another common myth is that marijuana is harmless, and we know that that can also lead to difficulties in their life. In addition to prescription pills, because they're prescribed by doctors, kids oftentimes think that they're harmless. They're not going to cause any problems for them.
All right, so I have a 12-year-old at home, so obviously I'm going to go home and have this conversation with you. How do you talk to them about this?
You know, the conversation has to be open. Kids need to find out from their parents earlier about drugs and alcohol. Some studies show that you should talk about it before they're 8 or 10 years old. Oftentimes, celebrity and the media glamorize alcohol and drug use. You want to have your kids understand that there are negative consequences of drug and alcohol use. And you want your kids to feel like this is an open conversation, it's non-judgmental, and that the opportunity is always there, and they're always approachable.
So as a parent, what should you be looking for? What are some of the signs?
So some of the leading signs for drug and alcohol use in kids is a change in their behavior. So emotional outbursts, they may become more withdrawn, they may have different association with their peer groups. Sometimes they have failing grades or want to skip school. And there are physical signs. You can look for the bloodshot eyes or the change in their appearance, their grooming, losing weight is a common symptom.
Are we seeing kids experimenting earlier? Because 13 seems so young.
13 is young. Oftentimes, what is really important to know is that if you're 13 and you're using drugs, then the risk is greater. So obviously, all kids at 13 aren't using drugs, but a lot of kids are, and they're communicating that to their peers. And so you want to get a head start with talking to your kids about it.
So lastly, Dr. Gordon, where can we send them for help? Where can we go for help?
You can send them to Shepherd Pratt, but in addition to that, you can have your parents look on the website, shepherdpratt.org. Also, the most important thing is to start in your community. Start with your school counselors and start with your family doctor.
All right, Dr. Gordon, thank you so much. We're going to have a conversation tonight.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. We want to update you now on a story about the Maryland mom and a school system employee fired for, I guess, what you would consider
already. And so the idea of having the thing that helps women stay safe be taken away is really upsetting.
Now, a doctor must prescribe and place an IUD. The CDC says they are the most effective form of birth control, and depending on the kind of device, IUDs can be effective for between 5 and 10 years. All right, right now, the flu peaks. The state health department says the virus is widespread in our state, but there are minimal number of cases. It seems like a mild flu season, but there's still time to get sick. And here she is to make us well, Dr. Arethysis Kirk, who is the Chief Medical Officer for United Healthcare Community and State of Maryland. Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, James.
Is it bad right now?
It is. It's widespread, and we're one of 28 states across the country that have widespread flu activity.
Is there one region outdoing the next? Or?
I don't think so. It's about half the regions, which shows that, you know, there's many people that are being affected.
So if it's not your office, don't think it's not out there, right?
That's right. So if you've procrastinated till this time to not get your flu vaccine, today is the day to go get it.
Dr. Kirk and I were talking while we were in commercial break. Why does the flu come around every year?
Well,
why can't we stop this out?
Why can't we? So it circulates each year, it changes each year, and our flu vaccine tries to predict what strains are going to be available.
And what strain is it this year?
Well, this year it's the A and B strains, and we have a vaccine against that, and we would like everybody to get inoculated.
All right, you get the flu shot. You advise that every single year, and again, put it out. Get your shot.
That's true. So each year we ask everybody from 6 months on to get a flu vaccine, and they're available from your retail pharmacy to your primary care office. There's many different places that you can get a flu vaccine.
Do you know of anybody that gets the flu every year? without
No.
getting the flu shot?
Well, I don't know of anybody who
Gee,
does, myself.
Can you imagine that?
Well, that would be very terrible. So there's many people who end up in the hospital and get very, very ill if they get the flu.
You ever had the flu?
I have had the flu.
And you remember it, right?
And I do remember it.
What year? We had it the same year.
We
No.
might have. We might have. But many people will think that they've had the flu, and the flu is pretty unmistakable. You can have a very, very high fever, back-breaking muscle aches, and cold and flu symptoms are very terrible to experience.
It's always here, isn't it?
That's true.
So get your shot, and if you get the flu, you can take medicine, but...
There are some antiviral medicines out there. The other thing that you can do is you can prevent flu by washing your hands, covering your cough, and staying home if you're sick.
All right.
So you can be infective 1 day before you show symptoms and up to 7 days after.
All right.
So we certainly don't want to get anybody else sick.
All right, Dr. Kirk, thank you so much for joining
you.
us here. Mike, let's take a look at our weather for today.
It was another mild day. We had temperatures above average. 19 days so far for the month of January, just 7 days either at or a touch below average, but now we'll change things up. I'm thinking as we go into your weekend, starting tonight, temperatures will begin to fall into the 40s, and that's going to be a struggle. Therefore, looking at temperatures like this, we're not going to see this for a while. Reached a high of 57. It occurred earlier in the day before that front moved through, and that's what brought those winds, allowed them to kick up. Right now, we're at 45 degrees, so we already lost about 12 degrees there. And you'll also notice that the winds are from the west at around 21 miles per hour, and those winds are expected to stay breezy. Just looking at the futurecast wind speed, you'll notice that they're going to be averaging around 15 miles per hour, but I'm thinking for tonight,
Obama's Supreme Court nominee. But tonight at 8 o'clock, President Donald Trump reveals his pick for the Supreme Court. And we'll carry the primetime announcement right here on ABC2. You can watch it right here online or on your smartphone. Just download the ABC2 News app. Well, on this show, you get insight you won't get from other Baltimore TV stations. That's why Richard Guerin is here. He's an author with more than 25 years' experience working on Capitol Hill. Do you miss it? Do you wish you were in the fray right now?
Well, it's a lot different today than it was back then, and there is a fray. That's for sure.
Listen, I want to ask you, as a political insider in D.C., are you glued to the TV because it looks like on the hour, every hour, something's happening?
Absolutely. When I think that I have the latest news, there's something else that comes out, and then there's something beyond that. It's kind of a real machine gun explosion with everything going on.
Okay, the first president that you were on the Hill with?
Carter.
Carter. You started with Carter.
Right.
Have you ever seen a week like this?
No.
No. Can they keep up this frenzy?
Well, there's something similar back in 1994 in the election back then. The Republicans in the House became the majority party after 40 years being in the minority. And there were many people on the Republican side that just wanted to really rub the Democrats' nose in it. And that can only be done so much. And it takes both parties to work together to get a good product. And unfortunately, right now, oftentimes people say, well, what's going to happen in the first 100 days? Well, at the end of the 100 days, we're going to be in Easter. It'll be daylight saving time. I have no idea.
Yeah,
but the problem is that if things are going to get through, the important programs that we need to have addressed, this can't continue.
Well, with Trump firing the acting attorney general last night and with Jeff Sessions now up for nomination, this is going to get bogged down, don't you think?
I think so. Especially in the Senate, it doesn't take many members to stick a stick into the spokes of the wheel, as it were, and slow things down.
You know, the paperwork, when Obama was signing the paperwork, we didn't, okay. But executive orders have really, I mean, are they more than we've ever seen before?
Yeah, I think that there are. I mean, and they're coming in a very concentrated period, and they're done to enunciate a particular program in that. But I think as we look at some of these executive orders, the Congress still has to act and provide funding for many of them.
Okay, tell us about your book, by the way, while you're here.
Thank you. Well, it's a book about tolerance and compassion. So I hope people get a chance to look at it. It's about a congressman on the Hill and has to leave the Hill, does some battles with Washington, and But I think what I tried to convey in that book is that the essence of a good policymaker is compassion and tolerance.
All right. Thank you, Richard, for coming in here.
Thank you very much.
All right. And again, our commitment to in-depth political coverage continues online. Tonight, we're going to dig into how 3 counties are now pushing back on the sanctuary city.